What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Last Bachelor podcast. I am your host, Elvin Matos, and this is episode 42. Today, we're diving into another topic that doesn't get nearly enough attention: intersectionality and masculinity. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What does that mean exactly? Well, stick with me because this conversation is going to challenge stereotypes, open up new perspectives, and hopefully leave you with a better understanding of what it means to be a man in today's diverse world. Let's start with the basics. Intersectionality is a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989, primarily to describe how different forms of discrimination like racism, sexism, and classism overlap and create unique experiences of oppression. But here's the kicker. This concept doesn't just apply to discrimination. It also helps us understand how identity, including masculinity, is shaped by different layers of who we are. For example, a white man, a black man, and a Latino man, gay or straight, all experience masculinity differently. Why? Because race, culture, class, and sexuality influence not just how they see themselves, but how the world sees and treats them. One of the biggest issues with the way society talks about masculinity is that it's often framed as a one-size-fits-all concept. We're told that being a man means being strong, stoic, and successful. But whose version of masculinity is that? For instance, many black men are seen through the lens of hypermasculinity, a stereotype that paints them as aggressive or overly physical. This not only dehumanizes them, but also puts unique, undue pressure on them to live up to or resist that stereotype. Similarly, Asian men are often stereotyped as being less masculine because of harmful colonial era tropes. Sorry about that. These experiences are drastically different, but they all stem from the same problem: society forcing narrow definitions of what it means to be a man. Let's bring in some expert perspectives. Sociologists like Michael Kimmel and Bell Hooks have written extensively about how masculinity is shaped by social structures. They argue that understanding masculinity requires looking at how cultural expectations interact with race, class, and sexuality. For example, working class men may face societal pressures to prioritize physical labor as a marker of their masculinity, while affluent men may feel pressure to achieve dominance through wealth or power. In LGBTQ plus communities, masculinity is often redefined altogether, sometimes embracing traits traditionally seen as feminine, which challenges the mainstream view of what masculinity should look like. Now, let's make this personal. Think about your own life. How has your identity, your race, class, culture, or sexuality shaped the way you experience being a man? For me, I had moments where I felt boxed in by societal expectations. Growing up Puerto Rican, I was told a man is to be tough, emotionless, hypersexual, the disciplinarian in parenting, and to solve problems alone, never asking for help. It took a long time to unlearn some of those ideas and start defining masculinity for myself. So what can we do with all of this? Here are 3 takeaways for today's conversation. 1, challenge the stereotypes. If someone is trying to tell you what a real man looks like, question it. Ask yourself, whose definition is this? 2, listen to other men's experiences, whether through books, podcasts, or conversations. Try to learn how masculinity shows up differently in other communities. 3, Define masculinity on your own terms. There's no rule book here. Be the man you want to be, not the one society tells you to be. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. How do you define masculinity in your life? What experiences have shaped how you see yourself as a man? Leave a comment on Spotify. Let's keep breaking down barriers, challenging norms, and redefining masculinity together. I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay. The Story of OJ by Jay-Z. Thanks for your time. You've been listening to The Last Bachelor. Until the next episode.